Hello everybody and welcome to the Football Philosophy channel. And this is a live build-up to the big game tonight, the Manchester derby in the Carabao Cup semi-final. City have won this cup for the last 3 times on the bounce, and they've won it 5 times in the last 7, so they really take it seriously. They'll be determined to try and add it, make it 4 in a row. So I'm pretty confident. The way Ollie's been speaking as well about losing 3 semi-finals last season. He's not, obviously the semi-final of the Carabao Cup last year was in January, and the FA Cup was in May, and I think the Europa League, whenever it was a couple of months later. So this would be our 4th semi-final defeat in 12 months if we lose. Ollie will be desperate for that not to happen. So hence, that's why it seems as though all the newspapers have looked at the predicted teams and it's as strong as you can imagine, or what they think that Ollie thinks is his strongest team. The Mirror and the Manchester Evening News have both gone with the exact same lineup. They think it'll be De Gea in goal, Wan-Bissaka, Bailey, Maguire and Shaw, with McTominay, Fred and Pogba in midfield, and Bruno at number 10 and Rashford and Marshall. That's both the Manchester Evening News and the Daily Mirror have gone with that, and they all seem to think that it's going to be real strong. The Independent have gone with the exact same outfield 10, but they reckon that Henderson might get a start in goal, so they've gone with Henderson in goal, the Independent. And then again, Wan-Bissaka, Bailey, Maguire, Shaw, Fred, McTominay and Pogba, and Rashford, Bruno and Marshall. And I've only got 4 predicted teams here. I've got 1 from TalkSport. Again, there's only 1 change, but it's not in goal from what the Manchester Evening News and the Mirror have said. TalkSport have actually got Mason Greenwood in the front line and no Pogba in the team. I can't really see that. I think Pogba will play. I was hoping 1 or 2 players might get a run who are knocking on the door. I don't know when he's... Obviously, it's this. I know it's a massive game for us. He's desperate to win a semi. I've just said that. So he can't really afford to mess around. But when you say mess around, we've got players queuing up for games who are also quality players. Van der Beek, still no game for Van der Beek. Obviously, interestingly, by the way, they've all got... All 4 of those outlets, 3 newspapers and TalkSport, they've all got Bailey in it. So they think it's nailed on that Bailey's going to play. I'm not 100% convinced by that. I can't wait. The team news should be out any minute now. Bailey's done well in Lindelof's absence, and he's done very well in Lindelof's absence. But don't forget, what have we done with City in the last 3 games? We've drawn 0-0 in the league at Old Trafford. In the league at Old Trafford, and we played them towards the end of last season in the league at Old Trafford. We beat them 2-0. The previous game to that was the second leg against City of the semi-final last January or February. It might have been the second leg, but certainly about 12 months ago, the second leg. And we beat them 1-0. All right, we were 3-1 down from the first leg, but we beat them 1-0 in that second leg. The last 3 games we played against City, we've beaten them twice and drawn with them once, and kept a clean sheet in every game. And Lindelof played in all of those games, and Bailey didn't play in any. Now, one of them's, I like saying that's history, but one of them's only a few weeks ago, and the second one back's only like in the post-lockdown. No, sorry, it was pre-lockdown, wasn't it? But still, one of them was pretty recent. We kept a clean sheet against them. We drew 0-0. I'm not too sure that Bailey is definitely going to start. I wouldn't be surprised if Lindelof came back in. It also, Bailey has been playing well, so Ollie will be scratching his head. It also wouldn't surprise me to see them both play and actually play with 3 centre-backs. So it's proper fascinating what he could do. I do expect McTominay and Fred to play. I do expect Pogba to play. And I think it'll be Bruno and Rashford and Marshall. So I'm just not 100% convinced. Another interesting one, a lot of people might have thought Telles might play. He might still, this is just the newspapers, but all of these 4 outlets, they've all got Shaw playing at left back, and I would expect Shaw to play at left back. Rashford, Marshall, Bruno at number 10, all nailed on to play, really, I think. I can't see Mason Greenwood playing. So United, they're going to be as strong as you can possibly imagine them being. You can see, obviously, City, they're going to want to get there. City have got quite a few problems, haven't they? They've got lads missing with coronavirus, and I know I heard it on the news earlier that they've got 2 others missing, haven't they?
Jack Berens has said in the comments here that apparently Jesus and Walker are in City squad today because the 10-day isolation period has ended.
Right, okay, so City might be a bit stronger than we thought then. I heard today on the news that they had a couple more people gone down with coronavirus, but it was young lads, I think, who might have been on the bench.
Team's out.
Go on, is it?
Henderson, Lindelof, Maguire.
Yeah.
Wan-Bissaka and Shaw.
Yeah.
Then Fred, McTominay.
Yeah.
Fernandes, Pogba.
Yeah.
Marshall, Rashford.
There you go. So it's bang on. All them, the Independent have said that it'll be. Well, they virtually all picked the same team apart from TalkSport at Greenwood. They all had Bailey in, and I've just told you I thought it might be Lindelof. Doesn't surprise me one little bit. I keep hearing people talking about the extra little bit of pace. I'm hearing stuff about we can push up more when we've got that little bit of pace and leave space in. You can't leave space in behind deliberately. Look, no matter who you're playing against, let's put that on silent. No matter who you're playing against, whether it's a top team, whether it's a team with pace, look, obviously if it's a team with extra pace, you don't like leaving space in behind. But if you do have dominant periods of the game, your team move up and down. If you're playing 4-4-2, and then you've got 2 in front, 4-4, and then 2 in front, or whether you're playing 4-3-3, they move up and down together. So it's all right saying it's Andy having that pace and you can afford to push up. No matter who you're playing against, the team push up together. If you're dominating a game, the defenders do come up towards the halfway line. It doesn't matter if the opposition have got Thierry Henry or Ronaldo in the lineup. You don't see teams pushing the midfield forward and pushing the strikers forward and leaving 3 defenders or 4 defenders 20 yards inside their own half. It just doesn't happen. They move up. The teams move up and down the park together. So you will have times in a game where your back 4 is near the halfway line. That's going to happen anyway. So you could sort of say, well, if we've got a player with a little bit of pace, he might be able to recover that ball over the top. But he's not going to recover that ball over the top if he's playing sort of right-sided centre-back and it's played in the channel of the left-sided centre-back, or even if it's played outside the left full-back. You know, if they've got a player of genuine pace on one of the flanks, the centre-back can't do too much about it. If they've got, I don't know, say they had a flyer like Gareth Bale on one of the wings, or whoever, somebody who's absolutely rapid. If he's up against Luke Shaw, all the centre-back can get back in the box and hopefully get a block on the cross or the block on the striker who's coming into the box. I'm not having it, and it looks like Ollie's not having it. Well, you heard it here first. I've just said I'm not surprised at all that Lindelof is starting and Bailey isn't. Any questions about that? Anybody not agreeing with me?
People upset that Matic aren't in the team, or a couple are anyway.
Yeah, I would have liked Matic to have played. Yeah.
Lack of wide men supporting our fullbacks might cost us today, says L Steele.
Yeah.
And obviously Rashford and Pogba will be playing in those wide positions again, won't they? I'm sure.
Yeah.
With Bruno behind Marshall.
Yeah, you would think so. You'd think Marshall would be at 9, wouldn't you? I don't mind Marshall playing left. I think he tracked back well, Marshall, but there isn't really a number 9 there apart from him who you can hit with the ball.
The thing is, if you play Marshall left, it's unlikely that he'd ask Pogba to go and occupy the right side of midfield.
Yeah.
It's got to be that way round, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think Pogba will be left, and you're right. And Rashford right, Bruno at number 10 and Marshall at number 9. That's what I can see.
Jack Berens, I'm pretty sure this was the team. I'm pretty sure this team is almost the same as the one when we last played City in the league. Do you think the game will pan out like the game in the league?
It's virtually the same. I think, well, he did. Mason Greenwood played wide right in that game. Was Marshall injured? I think Marshall might have been injured for that game.
Suspended.
So, was he suspended?
He got from the sending off, wasn't it?
Google it, sure.
He was suspended, wasn't he?
For sure.
He got sent off, didn't he, and missed.
He missed 3
and played in the Champions League, but didn't play in the league.
Was the derby around that time?
I believe so. I'll check.
If we did well to get a 0-0 draw out of it, if Marshall wasn't fit. So in that game, Greenwood played on the right hand side, didn't he? Pogba played on the left. Yeah, Marshall must have been missing. It was McTominay, Fred and Pogba, I think. Bruno at 10 and Rashford at 9.
I'll have a look now.
Let's have a look at that.
George Kyle, I think we'll see a very pragmatic approach today.
Yes, I won't disagree with you, mate. Won't disagree with you. I think it's going to be a case of staying in the game, not let them look. They're the top side. The other night they looked absolute quality. They seem to be back. They had a proper dodgy start, City, didn't they, by their own standards, and they seem to be flying again. I think, and Ollie's going to know that. I think he's going to be. I think he might be as cagey as the last game. I really do.
It's funny actually
because the last thing they want is to be 2 down in 20 minutes, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. They seem to be kind of the other way around from what they were last season. They're not scoring goals as freely as they were last season, but they're tight as you like at the back.
Yeah, they've got the best defensive record in the Premier League.
Yeah. I'm not sure, obviously,
I think they were at 12 in or something.
Yeah.
I'll have a look at the table. What was you checking that thing, or are you reading?
I was having a look here, but I was having a look at the questions as well. What have you thought about Pogba so far on the left? Says Talara Hussein.
He's not an ideal left-sided player for me. I like a player that can get behind the full-backs and I mean, look, Pogba can actually do it. I saw him drive a great crossover with his left peg against Arsenal. But I'm setting my ways, if you like, and I prefer dogged players and I don't know how to explain it. I was about to say skillful players, but Pogba's a skillful player.
He's a skillful player
who can get round someone and who are looking to get the ball across the field. I just like a proper left winger playing on the left.
It seems a silly thing to say this when you're talking about such elite level sport, but you want players performing roles that they go to bed dreaming about at night, don't you?
Yeah.
You want your left winger going to bed at night thinking, how can I work at getting round past that fullback?
I'm going to get past him.
You want him dedicated to that job, thinking about it, practicing it, working it.
100% agree.
That's what you want in your team. You want that in all your positions, don't you?
You've got Pogba playing on the left, and he won't be dreaming about playing on the left again next. When he goes to bed tonight, will he?
No, I wouldn't have thought so.
Wide left anyway. In what might be, it's going to work out. They always. I don't know what they'll put it up on the screen, but it nearly always just falls into 4-4-2. Pogba's going to, if they're fit, I take it Kyle Walker will play right back. Someone's going to have to track him. Someone's going to have to block him. I think that'll be Pogba's job. I think it'll be Rashford's job on the other flank. McTominay and Fred holding the midfield. Bruno at number 10. Marshall at number 9. I'll be staggered if it doesn't shape like that. And that, to me, is proper 4-4-2. I don't care what anyone says. So, to me, in a 4-4-2, I don't think Pogba suits playing wide on the left.
Yeah, City's team here: Stefan in goal, Cancelo at fullback, Diaz, Stones, Zinchenko, Fernandinho, Gundogan, De Bruyne, Mahrez, Foden, and Sterling.
What a team! What a team! I fear the worst, if I'm honest. I'm liking. It's a right. That Foden looks a player to me.
Yeah.
De Bruyne is different class. They've got Sterling up front.
Aguero back in the mix on the bench, by the way.
On the bench, yeah. It's going to be a ding-dong battle, I think.
Yeah.
But I do, listening to that team there, they're going to have a lot of the ball, City. We're going to have to play a very cagey game, I think, like we did in the last game. Anybody who thinks that we can just go, right, it's up to us to go and try and score 4 goals, you've got, and batter them, you've got another thing coming. If it was to happen, I'd be gobsmacked. But I think we will be settling in the first instance. This is how coaches work. It's how they speak to the players. They'll be settling for 20 minutes to go by and not to let a goal in. That's the first target, 15, 20 minutes, and then start again. Maybe another 15 minutes, and they take it in stages. And if you could say to Ollie now it's going to be 0-0 at half-time, I'm certain he'd take it, and I think it'd be silly not to, and then go from there. That's how you think about a game against such a quality opposition. Little bits by little bits.
George Kyle, full of confidence. Easy win this for us, Ricky.
Go on, George. I hope you're right.
I like your style, George. Josh Harper, Ricky. A few people asking about Grealish, actually. Yeah. Ricky, do you think Grealish is now a top 5 player in the Prem? He's unbelievable for me.
Yeah, he looks mega. He looks absolutely top draw.
Yeah.
So confident on the ball. playing with his head up. He's got such skill. He dribbles it. He can take people on, but he's looking for the pass all the time. He just looks. The first time I really thought, obviously I'd seen him before that, but I watched Villa when they were struggling against relegation towards the end of last season, and I thought, I'll watch this. They played Arsenal. I think they beat 1-0 at Villa Park, and it was a desperately important win for them at the time. They were right down there in the bottom 3 or 4 and struggling to stay up. And he caught my eye. Obviously, I'd already seen him, but he caught my eye that night, and I thought, wow, what a player he looks now, him. And he hasn't gone backwards either. He looks top draw. He's good enough to play, I think.
I've got to agree with you. I was a bit unsure to begin with. I just thought, I can't see him being as good as he's been reported. So often you see these players blown out of proportion, and I just thought it's unlikely he's going to be that good. But having watched him a few times now, he seems to just make the right decision almost all the time. Keeps it simple when it needs to be simple, and has got the ability to do special things when it's on. Yeah,
it's different class.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely agree.
How much he'd cost, I've got no idea.
Rahul Krishna, most of the goals we've conceded in recent time have come from crosses. Why do you think that is, Rick? Well, it's something that you pointed out this from the Leipzig game where we conceded goals both from either flank, down to not having dedicated right and left-sided midfield players and having players that are vacating the position.
You concede less goals from crosses if you had dedicated workers on the flanks in a proper 4-4-2 like we had when we had Beckham and Giggs on the flank many years ago. I know we won't get back to that sort of level, or it might be a long time before we do. But if you've got 2 proper wide men who are wide midfield players who are great going forward, but understand the importance of working hard, the importance of team shape, then you'll concede less. But it's not just down to the defenders. Definitely not just down to the defenders. It's about your wide players, your midfield players, or even your forwards, whichever ones are dedicated wide players. They've got to help more. That game against Leipzig, I'm pretty confident that the first 2 goals were crosses. I think they were crosses by one, whether they played the wing back or the full back. But either way, it's the same thing to me. The wing back on one side crossed it and the wing back on the other side scored. And then the next goal, I think the wing back on this side crossed it and the wing back on that side scored. So it's not just the defenders' fault. Them players need tracking by midfield players or forwards.
Something else that I just thought was interesting here. Josh Harper again. Looks like De Bruyne playing at false 9.
Again.
Yeah. People don't understand that playing Bailey in a game and are not going to be looking for balls over the top makes no sense. Thoughts, Ricky? This De Bruyne, I think it's interesting with the the whole Bruno camp and labelling him as a midfielder all the time and looking at his stats from the midfield. Obviously, he's the closest comparison to him in the league by most people's gauge is De Bruyne, and yet he's playing centre forward for them. They're actually naming him as a false 9, aren't they? You know what I mean? And yet everyone's constantly trying to call Bruno a midfielder to compare him to other midfielders. But he's playing at false 9 for us.
He does play a false 9. Without any shadow of a doubt. I don't care what anyone says. He's often the furthest forward player. I said this, I think I might have said
closing
this
down the goalkeeper.
He's closing down the goalie, he's running out to the full-backs and all that. He's not really playing like a proper midfielder. Of course he gets back to help.
Yes.
But that's what all false 9s do. It's what Firmino does, and it's what you'll see De Bruyne doing tonight. They can't just stand up front with their hands on their hips.
No, recent history, Rooney was renowned for that, wasn't he? Working back into full-back spots and stuff like that, but he was a centre-forward.
Yeah.
Ryan Tooley, Rick, honest opinion on Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I love him, think he's so underrated. Fullback's first job is to defend, anything else is a bonus. And Aaron Wan-Bissaka is the best around on defence.
He's come on an absolute treat since I gave him a right slagging when we first signed him. Anybody who saw me on the United stand 2 years ago, or however long ago it was. He has come on a treat. His footballing skills have improved, his passing's improved. For me, you've got to... if you want to try and win the sort of trophies that we're used to competing for, if you want to do that, if you want to get back to the level that you were at, you need players who are at that level. It's common sense, isn't it? It's obvious. And for me, I still don't think that Aaron is quite a player who would slot in to a team that's going to win the European Cup or the Premier League. I really don't. But I'm happy with him. I'm not saying we've got to bomb him out. I'm not saying we need a new right back. I think he's doing fine. But we're not quite the team we were. And where we are at the minute, though, you've got to think, have we got a chance of winning this league? there's 3 or 4 players in our team who I think you can carry one player who's maybe not quite up to the level of the rest, maybe 2, but I think we've got 3 or 4, and I would say Aaron Wan-Bissaka's one of them. If he was the only player who's not the sort of player you would expect to win a league title with, you might get away with it. But when you've got 3 or 4, I'll be gobsmacked if we can go and win the league. But I hope I'm proved wrong. I pray that I'm proved wrong. I'll be absolutely beside myself with joy if we could go and win the league.
Yeah.
But look where we are at the minute. But we all do this. We're looking up the table all the time. At the minute, everyone's talking about us being on goal difference behind Liverpool, and people calling it joint top, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? We're not joint top, we're second. But if the league was to finish tomorrow, we'd be second, and Liverpool had won it on goal difference. But City are now in a situation, aren't they, that they're 4 points behind us with a game in hand. I've got a sneaky feeling City might be the ones who I was about to say the biggest threat to us. We shouldn't be looking at us as threats to us, because we're a team that have been finishing 3rd, 4th, 5th for a few years. We're a threat to them. We shouldn't be looking at it that they're a threat to us. We're a threat to them. So we are a threat to them. But at the minute, I would say that's what we are exactly. We're a threat to Liverpool. We're a threat to City. And looking at the way the teams are playing at the moment, I'd have to say, hand on heart, that my favourites would be City at the minute for the title. I hope we can beat them tonight, and it might put a dent in the confidence.
Yeah. Back to the Wan-Bissaka thing. It's funny because I agree. I don't really see us pushing for a league title, playing the type of football that we are at the moment. I'd love us to. Obviously, I'd be absolutely delighted if we did. And Wan-Bissaka's part of that is because of players like Wan-Bissaka. I don't see us going and just dominating possession against teams with players like that in your team, because it's in possession where he falls short defensively, as Jack rightly points out.
He has improved,
but it's kind of suiting our style of play at the moment, because we are giving possession away cheaply, and on the recovery and then his defensive roles, he's actually doing that quite well.
Yeah. It's not doing any harm. It's not doing a terrible amount of harm at the minute, because he's not the only one who gives the ball away a bit too often.
Yeah. Thoughts on Henderson starting tonight, says the Red Devils?
I forgot that from the starting lineup. Is Henderson starting? Yeah.
Henderson in goal, yeah.
Henderson starting. I didn't spot that bit when you said it. I was just listening really to the outfield players. I was more interested about Lindelof and Bailey and Shaw and Telles. Thoughts on Henderson starting? It looks solid enough to me. I've got no problem with it whatsoever. I'm not over the moon with it, and I've got no problem with it. I just haven't really got many thoughts on it. I think he deserves a game at some stage.
Yeah.
It is a semi-final. It could be a good thing. It could be that it's obviously such a big game. Look, the way we're going in the league, how big a game is it? I mean, when can you give him a game? Is this a bigger game than the game against Wolves the other night, or a bigger game than against Villa the other night? I mean, you could argue that it is a bigger game, in that if you get beat in the semi-final, you're out of it. Whereas in the league, if you drop points, you might be able to claw them points back. You might be able to overtake teams still. But I just think the way Liverpool and City go about the business, and at any minute it could click into gear for them and they might win 12 in a row. I think if we were to drop points in a league game and fall behind, we might never get back on top, or joint top, if you want to call it joint top. So those games are just as big, if not bigger. So you've got to give him a game sometime, Henderson. And I suppose it's a good idea to give him a game tonight. It might just be the start of the show as well. That can happen for you.
Rahul Krishna, Trent Alexander lost the ball 38 times against Southampton, Rick. I can only imagine the rage you'd have had if you played. I'd have been
raging. I did read that, and I was absolutely amazed by it. I watched that lad. He's an absolute quality player whenever I've seen him before. I don't know how he count the ball losses, and I'm not. Look, I've got no reason to defend him whatsoever, but I don't know whether
he might have put 15 crosses in the box that all got cleared.
They dominated the game. He might have crossed the ball 15 times, and if he crosses the ball 15 times and they head it away 15 times, I suppose they go down as ball losses. But they did sub him, so maybe Klopp was disappointed with him. And also, I mean, I can't remember how long was left when they subbed him, But that also means he gave the ball away 38 times in less than a match.
Short
not even a
pace,
full match. You know what I mean? But that'd have been raging if he was playing for me.
Couple of questions here which I'll ask because it's interesting for people to hear your kind of thoughts on this. But Suyash, Ricky, would you take Jack Grealish, obviously, for 90 million? That's his cost apparently. I'd give it him. Players like him are rare. And then the Red Devils follows on with, Ricky, do you buy into the whole Glazer discussion, lack of funding? I think I'm asking you them two together because they're linked, and because I know your kind of view on it is you're so football focused, and you don't really give it too much time or too much thought, do you? All the finances.
No, I don't. I'm not a switched on enough guy financially, or it's all right us all having our own opinions, and I see the figures bandied about that they're taking out of the club, and it is shocking, and I'd love to have more money to spend, but at the same time, I'm so football orientated. I sometimes think I look at United's squad, and when I look at United's squad, I believe I could get a team playing there out of that squad that could challenge for the league title. I believe we could pick a better team than what we're picking at the minute. Yeah. And I believe, we're challenging as it is. Of course, I might be wrong. We might go off the boil if he was to change a couple of things. But I like to work. I like to think about football. I like to work with the players I've got, and then I don't mind answering questions like someone just said. Would you give the 90 million for Jack Grealish? He's such a quality player. I also like to think about how we fit these people in. I mean, what is Jack Grealish? He's not going to take. He's not a number 9. So you've got to have a number 9 in your team for me, whether it's a false 9 or a genuine 9. And I think that's Marshall's role, or Cavani's if he's fit. And I think you've got to have your 2 proper midfield players. You can't have too many flamboyant players in your team. So I think I've always said it, McTominay and Fred, or McTominay and Matic, or Fred and Matic. 2 of those 3 players. Or Pogba can play that role if he sticks to it and sticks to his discipline. So you've got to have 2 players playing there. So I don't think Grealish plays from the right.
From the left,
he plays from the left more, which is where Rashford plays. I mean, a lot of people, be careful what you wish for. How do you fit all these players into your team?
Yeah.
If I was the manager of United and they said to me, look, we've got to give 90 million quid for Jack Grealish, we don't really want to, but if you're desperate for him, we'll go for it.
Yeah.
I'd be having sleepless nights over it, honestly, myself, sanctioning £90 million for a player that's going to come into the team and
I mean, obviously, I know that
fit him into the team and get him playing how you want him to play.
Yeah, I know the Glazers take a lot of money out of the club, and I'm the same as you. I don't pay too much attention to what's going on in the background at board level and all of that. But as far as I can see, we do, aside from what they are doing, taking money out of the club, we do seem to spend a lot of money on players, and we do seem to give really big salaries. Now, these are Americans. They're not football people. They're obviously employing people to advise them on the football side of their investment, it is they're involved in.
Surely.
So for me, it's our recruitment that's been more of the issue. We're spending fortunes. We're giving big wages.
Yeah.
Obviously, we could spend even more if they were taking money out of the club, I'm sure. But would you really want to do that when we've been misspending it anyway, I would suggest?
I think we've misspent it. And I also think we've sold some players for peanuts that we should have kept.
It's just not been good business.
I don't think it has.
It's just not been good business. The players that we've let go and the players that we've brought in haven't addressed the right issues at the right time. For example, I mean, I'm a big fan of...
We're just coming into a run now, aren't we, where we're joint top of the league. We've not been in a situation like this, joint top. I hate saying that. We're second in the league on goal difference. We're just coming into a situation where you might be able to say, look, it's been worth it, what we've spent, everything's been fine, we are now where we are, we've got a chance of winning the league. If in another 5 or 6 games, when we've played 23, 24 games, if we're still top or second on goal difference or a point behind, something like that, then we can start getting excited if there's 24 games gone, something like that, and we're still in this position, and you might be able to argue with that we're getting somewhere. But so far, the money that we've spent, to me, has not been spent well enough over the years that we've been spending it since Fergie left, really.
Yeah, There's a few people in here, quite a few, asking you to name what your best team would be at the moment out of what we've got.
Everybody will start laughing at me.
I'll name what mine is. I don't mind. Mine would be Wan-Bissaka at right back, Lindelof and Maguire at centre half, Shaw at left back, McTominay and Matic in the middle of the park, Marshall from the left, Van der Beek at 10, if we're naming it like that, 4-2-3-1 as they so often put it up. James from the right, and Cavani at 9. I think it'd be mine.
I think it'd be a very good team. Very good team. No one matter from the right, no.
Well,
no Rashford from the right.
The thing is, it wouldn't be Rashford for me. I mean, as much as this goes, this is going to anger people who are Rashford and Greenwood fans. As far as I'm concerned, they're both number 9s. That's what they want to do, and that's where they've learnt the trade. That's where they should be trying to perfect the trade. But neither of them are Cavani. Cavani's been the best goal scorer in Europe, or one of the top 3 for the last 7 years. So you're behind Cavani, and for me, you're also behind Marshall, and we only play one number 9. So it means that Rashford and Greenwood are perhaps 3rd and 4th choice for one position. That doesn't give you much. That doesn't give you much, room for a game. On the right hand side at the moment, it would be James or Mata, horses for courses. It would perhaps depend on the opponent. If we're looking to try and use pace more, then I'd go with James. If we're looking to try and use a bit more. Have
you seen enough of Van der Beek to sort of think that? Do you know what I mean?
Good question.
I put my team out a couple of months ago. I had Van der Beek at number 10. I'd love to see him get some game time at number 10. I love players who look after the ball, look for the short passes, loads of simplicity. I absolutely love it. But the figures that Bruno's putting up there, it's difficult to argue against him, and it's difficult. You could look. Even, as much as I'd love to see Van der Beek get a game at number 10, if I was suddenly given the job of running United's team tonight, I wouldn't be dropping Bruno and putting Van der Beek in it. But I would if we were playing, I don't know, if we were playing another Premier League team even. If we were playing Burnley at home tonight in the League Cup semi-final, I'd be playing Van der Beek. Let's see how he does.
Yes.
Do you know what I
mean? I do agree with you. It's kind of two different questions. What would your ideal team, if you were kind of building towards playing the type of football that you want us to play?
Yes, I agree with that.
Or what would your team be tonight if it was like you've just got to go and try and get the best result you can tonight? It's a different question. Yeah, I think if that's the question, you probably would have Bruno at 10. Yeah. But the way that I want us to play football, I think Van der Beek playing at 10 would suit that style more than what Bruno does. Yeah. I'd like us to start trying to sustain possession over long periods in and around the opposition's third. And just keeping the pressure on constantly. And I think we give it up too cheaply with Bruno playing in that 10 role. Same with Rashford as well. I don't think he retains possession well enough for us to be able to do that.
I won't disagree with either of those things.
And you look at Mane and you look at Salah. Obviously, they've got all of that electric pace and they're so clinical in and around the box. But the clinical, in the short game as well. Clinical in the simple game. Yeah. Few questions coming in. Rahul Krishna, I think Saka is quality player from Arsenal. Thoughts on him, Ricky?
Yeah, he looks quality. Yeah, he does look class. I saw him. I can't remember. I can't remember what he was against towards the end of last season. I thought he was brilliant. Then I saw the game earlier this season. Thought he looked as though he'd gone off a bit, but he's come strong again. They've got another young player, haven't they? That Smith Rowe. He looks good as well. I've only seen him. I've only watched him carefully once, and I thought he looked quality the other day when I saw him. So I think Arsenal might be bouncing back. They've just won 3 in a row, haven't they? And we've got by the end of this month, if they keep it going, we're going to have a right tough game at the Emirates.
The Red Devils, Rick. Do you think Solskjaer made his mind up about Matic and Scott as a pairing after the Leipzig game?
He might have done. He might well have done, but it was completely unfair. It's just unbelievable what's happened to Matic, the number of times he gets played. And there's other bits of the team that are so wrong that he sometimes gets right. Like against Leipzig, we had 5 at the back. And we had Rashford and Marshall up top, plus Bruno playing in like his false 9 role. He's playing far too far forward for me in a game where we needed a draw. So although the 2 wing-backs come forward to help, if their full-backs are coming on as well, they can't always get forward to help. So you get a situation regularly, and I put a couple of clips on Twitter about this. There was regular situations where we literally only had McTominay and Matic. And another thing, by the way, in commentary, not that these managers or ex-managers always know what they're talking about, and I fall into this trap myself, I don't mind admitting it. I sometimes say, listen to what he's said, and it might be an ex-famous manager or ex-player, but then I hear another ex-famous manager or ex-player and say he's talking rubbish. So this argument doesn't really hold water in this respect. But at the end of the day, Glenn Hoddle is a player who was a fantastic footballer, and he's been the manager of England. And in commentary on the game that night, he said United haven't got enough players in midfield. They're getting overrun because they haven't got enough players in midfield. Now, like I say, they don't always know what they're talking about. But that night, Glenn Hoddle was absolutely bang on. They were getting overrun in midfield because there was only 2 of them. You know, in our Halcyon days, we had 4 in midfield. You've got to have at least 3, surely. But, you know, most of the time, Bruno was too far forward. The back 5 was in line as a back 5. McTominay and Matic, if it was Thomas Partey and Ndidi, or if it was Keane and Vieira, they probably still would have got overrun. So all he's thrown them in the deep end. He's all gone out to dry. That's the phrase. And Matic has had that similar situation a few times.
Bruno the fibber. Rick, I spoke to Neil Warnock. He said you taught him everything he knows. Here's the thing, obviously, you talk about things like that. The shape against Leipzig and how exposed we were.
Yeah.
Just saying that we need to have a right and left sided midfielder. How is that too quickly tarred with that brush of?
It's amazing, though.
You know, you're old school, you're outdated.
Yeah,
can we just have some shape, please?
It's laughable.
Yeah.
It is absolutely laughable. It was what we did that night was embarrassing. It was like a 13-year-old boy had picked the team for a game of FIFA. We only needed a draw. And we were 2-0 down in 15 or 20 minutes. We had too many men up front, too many men in defence, and not enough in midfield.
I think we have to bring it to an end anyway. It's getting closer. Kick-off time tonight, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's that. I hope you've enjoyed that. Anyone who's still out there watching, I think Mark he's probably has started his watch along if you want to watch Mark on the United stand. I'll be glued to this game now. Can't wait. Just like the coaches, just like the management, I'll be sat there willing it by the first half. I will be willing it by. If it's 0-0 at half time, I'd take it and go from there. If you've enjoyed that show, please tell all your friends. Please subscribe. If you didn't enjoy it, don't tell anybody. Keep stum.